The new NBA season is about to begin, and college and high school basketball has already started in many parts of the country. So I thought this would be an opportune time to talk about the best photo positions to shoot from for basketball. So let's gear up and let's get started. Hey there, what is up you guys? I am Jerry Lai and welcome to my sports photography YouTube channel. For those of you visiting for the first time, I am the Director of Photography and Content at USA Today Sports, and I've been a photojournalist for the past 16 years. My goal is simple. I want to help you become a better sports photographer. If you think that I could help you out, definitely hit that like button and subscribe. Today, I want to talk about the best floor positions for shooting basketball. Now, at the time of this video, it is late in the year 2020, so I know that many of the positions that I talk about today will probably be off limits to you, at least in the near term. I know that shooting from an elevated position or using remote cameras is a possible workaround, but both of those are topics that I'll touch on in a future discussion. So just squirrel the knowledge that you gain from this video away, and when the world decides to no longer be cuckoo bananas, you'll be ready to pick up and lock and load. The rules and regulations for where photographers can sit and shoot from will differ from venue to venue. That said, it's pretty universal that both sidelines are off limits for photographers. On one sideline, you will have both benches and the scorer's table. And on the other side, it's typically courtside seats or press seats. I've indicated these off-limit areas in red. Photographers are instead allowed along the baseline, but depending on your team or school, you'll probably be granted access only to a portion of that baseline. For example, at my alma mater, Northwestern, photographer is only allowed on one half of the baseline. The cheerleaders and dance team occupy the other half of both baselines, indicated in red. Other teams may have different orientations, and if you're very lucky, you'll actually get free reign over the entire length of both baselines. That said, where you are situated on the baseline is not created equal. There is definitely one side of the basket that is preferred over the other. If you're sitting directly under the basket and looking out to the court, you want to be on the right of the basket. I've indicated these spots in green. Now, why specifically the right-hand side of the basket? I'm going to show you why right now. That's right, when a player takes a shot, their right arm is going to block their face. Remember my video explaining the 3 golden rules of sports photography, where I explained that you needed faces in your photos? Well, because most people are right-handed, if you sit on the left-hand side of the basket, you run a much greater chance of this happening to you. So, by sitting on the right side of the basket, the odds of getting a usable shot where the arm is not blocking the face increases significantly in your favor. So that's where you're going to want to be. Now obviously, just because you're sitting on the left-hand side of the basket doesn't mean you're going to get an arm and face in every single shot, but again, you're just playing the odds. So now that we've talked about which side of the basket you should be sitting on, where exactly on the baseline should you be sitting? Well, there are effectively 3 areas along the baseline where you could position yourself. I don't think these are the actual names that these are called, but this is how that I'm going to refer to them. Number 1, the lane. It's not directly under the basket, but more or less in the lane or just on the outside of it. Number 2, the middle, which is about halfway inside the 3-point line and outside of the lane. And 3 is the sideline. This isn't on the sideline, but really around the 3-point line. Now, before I dive into the specifics of these positions, let me talk about shooting down court. In other words, photographing the action on the opposite end of where you are seated. Generally, your view, no matter where you are seated on the baseline, will be approximately the same. Now, what do I think about down court basketball photography? Personally, I hate it. I generally think the action is junk because the action around the basket from this angle is generally all of people's backs. Which, if you may recall from my 3 golden rules video, breaks the rule of needing faces in the frame. Now, do I keep shooting plays at the basket even if I can't see their faces? Yes, I do, because you just never know. You might get a dunk where the player rotates around or gives you a good expression, or you might just get a photo of a game-winning basket or key shot block. But generally, you're going to end up with a whole lot of backs and photos in the trash bin. The more productive shots to get when shooting down court are players working the perimeter or battling for rebounds after a miss, because you can get good faces and often close contact as well. You can also get great loose ball scramble photos too. Again, no matter which position you shoot from, whether it's the lane, the middle, or the sideline, what you shoot down court will be about the same. So with my note about shooting down court out of the way, let's talk about the 3 photo positions along the baseline. Let's start with the easy one. So first, let's talk about the spot where you shouldn't sit, and that's the middle. Try to avoid this area if at all possible. And the reason is because that's where the referee tends to end up during his rotation. Now in basketball, you're always going to get referees drifting in your frame no matter where you're seated. But when you're planted in the middle, you're going to have a particularly bad time with this. Now, as an illustration, you'll see in the sample photo where my photo intern is working, despite the fact that we are on the left-hand side of the basket, you'll see that the ref is planted smack dab in the middle of the baseline. So what about the other positions? Let's first talk about the position closest to the lane. This is an extremely versatile spot because you'll have the action coming right at you from all directions. You of course have players driving and attacking right down the lane. You'll also be able to get players who drive baseline towards you and towards the basket from both sides. It's a very head-on position, so you'll get a lot of faces with great expression. That said, there is one bad thing about the spot, and that's you are almost too close to the action, at least if you're shooting with a 70-200. Check out these photos. These are all full frame at 70 millimeters. They're great shots, don't get me wrong, but they leave very little room for error or any sprawled out limbs. So if you're directly under the basket, you'd often need or want to shoot with a 24-70. However, if you do that, then any action of folks dribbling out to the three-point line or the top of the lane will be a little bit too small and require a lot of cropping. So it's not an ideal situation. So that brings me to my final baseline spot, and it's become my preferred spot over the years, and that is the sideline, or the spot closest to the three-point line. This is an extremely versatile spot as well, because from here you can also see players driving the lane, and you'll also get a pretty good view of players driving from the opposite three-point line towards the basket. You do lose a couple of things compared to the spot in the lane, however. One, you won't get pictures of players driving from the near three-point line towards the basket. You'll just end up with their backs. You also won't be as head-on. Many of your shots will tend to be more at a profile angle. So while not having the action come directly at you is a little bit of a bummer, overall it's a trade I'm willing to make because I think overall you're going to get more frames shooting from the sideline / three-point line because you won't have players jumping out of your frame nearly as often. As a bonus, you're able to shoot the near court with just one camera, one lens, instead of worrying about juggling cameras and lenses. Anyways, that's all for this video today, talking about the best photo positions to shoot from at a basketball game. Let me know in the comments section below if you agree with my assessment that the sideline and three-point line position is the best. Or if you are new to basketball photography, try out all 3 positions and let me know if you agree. Anyways, thank you as always for watching today. If you enjoyed the content of this video, as usual, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button or subscribed. Don't forget to also hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted as to when new content drops. Thanks again for stopping by today. Stay safe, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye.